Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wild Digest. I know I usually open these things up with great aplomb and enthusiasm, but the last few days have been weighing quite heavily on me. And I was thinking that I wouldn't even do a video to kind of just avoid this whole issue, this whole situation, but I finally decided that I kind of feel like that is why BookTube exists and why we are here doing what we do. Pardon me while I drink some coffee. This is going to be absolutely, as Jimmy would say, shambolic. As you well know, when this video goes out, it's now the 15th of December. Over the last few days, there have been, two horrific shootings, one in Australia, one at Brown University, who knows how many others. And then, of course, yesterday we found out about Rob Reiner and his wife. And it's funny because talking about it right now, I'm getting really choked up because it's like, Gen X, as I saw another post, Gen X is, we are not doing well today. I grew up watching All in the Family. And I still go back and watch those shows. And then, of course, all these incredible movies that Rob Reiner created. And it was like a real punch in the gut to see that, what had happened yesterday. And it just got me thinking that, like, we're in such dark times right now. And it's really hard to, rally and jump behind the camera or in front of the camera and behind the mic. And talk about something as mundane as, reading vintage science fiction books. But, that's where we are. And that's where I think we have to keep doing what we're doing. It's hard. It really can be. And, I'm not going to go too much into my own personal stuff, but those of you who know, I lost my job, a full-time job last year, and that was rough. But, I've been trying to fill it with other stuff. I've got contracted writing gigs that are happening that are a lot of fun. I'm really, really, really happy with where I am at the moment. I'm actually the main project I'm working on right now. I sort of cracked the nut in the last few days, even about the last week or so. I really have been hugely motivated and writing some great stuff and waking up in the middle of the night and grabbing my phone to write down ideas that I've come up with. And it's just a lot of really cool world building that I'm really happy about. So that stuff is keeping me going. And BookTube is 100% keeping me going. And I'm so thankful that it exists. And I got to celebrate, a cool milestone a few days back where I got 400 subscribers. I'm now a little bit over that. And to each and every one of you who's following me, thank you so much. It means a lot. It really does. It makes me feel like this bit of silliness that I do once in a while is not for nothing. So, and before I move on to some other stuff, just for those of you who might be interested. I have not talked about politics at all on my channel, and it's been, what are we now? Almost 5 months in. Let's just say that you probably you wouldn't be surprised at what my political leanings are. And if you really want to see where I fall on that spectrum, I suggest you follow me on Threads. Threads is that's where I do my political discourse. That's where I do my ranting, and you will see it all laid out in bold colors, exactly what makes me tick. So I'll put the link, or at least my username and everything down here. You can follow me over on Threads. I would say 90% of the time it's politics there for me. And the 10% I do talk about games and movies and things like that. And that's another thing too. Like, the weekend, it was up and down a little bit, but we were celebrating another, my wife and I were celebrating another one of my wife's successes on another film that she worked on. Dust Bunny. If you haven't heard about it, track it down if you can. See it on the big screen. It really is something masterful. It's a modern day, pseudo modern day fairy tale, and I absolutely loved it. Mads Mikkelsen is in it. Sigourney Weaver's in it, and a certain creature that my wife was on the fabrication team for with Legacy Effects. And so we went to a screening on Saturday night. Was it Saturday? Yeah, it was Saturday, with the writer-director Brian Fuller. You may know his name. He worked on Star Trek and all sorts of other great stuff. And David Dastmalchian, who is in the film. And that was great. And it was just wonderful to see my wife's name on the credits again. Anytime that happens, it's always fun. We tried to take a picture, and I've posted it in one of my posts on my channel here. But anyway, so that was all looking great and feeling very hopeful. And like I said, I've been very inspired with my writing as well. So things were feeling really positive, and then they, of course, took a nosedive, and it hasn't been a great couple of days. But I thought, I was struggling with this whole BookTube thing, like whether or not I should even do a video. And then I thought, you know what? Let me just get on and do a very honest, warts and all commentary about things. And that's what you are watching right now. And then we will sweep it all aside for now. And I will show you my final 2025 book haul. So we're going to do a little bit of fun. I'm not going to make this whole video a complete and utter disaster. We're going to wrap things up with a fun little book haul, and there's a lot of neat stuff here. I actually have 17 books that I've picked up in the last couple of weeks that have made me quite happy. And so let's go ahead, and I'm going to roll the original title sequence that was going to open this video, but I just felt like I had to get some stuff off my chest, and it was easier to kind of go with something a little more somber from the outset. But here is what you were supposed to see before the world went to shit over the weekend. So enjoy. Okay, so bit of fun there, and all will be revealed in regards to that image shortly. So let's start things off. I'll do this chronologically. So a couple videos ago, or maybe even, I think it was a couple videos ago, I did a review of the book The Sword of Lancor by Howard L. Corey. If you haven't seen that one, link below, go find it. It's a lot of fun. The book was fun. It was pulpy, published by Ace in the 60s. Sword and sorcery stuff, very Fafford and the Grey Mouser. So I kind of recommend it. I think it's a lot of fun. But, of course, that made me instantly want to track down the author. Now, the author, as I said in that original video, Howard L. Corey is actually a pseudonym. It's a collaborative pseudonym of two authors, a husband and wife team. And they only wrote one other book. Let's see if hang on one second. As I said, shambolic. They only wrote one other book under that pseudonym, as far as I can tell. And I, being the nut that I am, tracked it down. So this is the Mind Monsters by Howard L. Corey. This is the only other book that they wrote together, also published by Ace as an Ace double. Now, this is the tricky thing. If for some insane reason you want to track down this goofy book, it's kind of a dinosaur, I guess. A dino, maybe could, I don't know. We could maybe use it for Dinovember in 2026. But anyway, the tricky part of this one is that it's a double with a Philip K. Dick novel, The Unteleported Man. So you may pay a little bit more because of that simple reason, and that's precisely what I wound up doing. I tracked it down on eBay, and it's in pretty dang good shape. The spine isn't broken or anything. Couple little corner dings and such, but very happy to have it. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to read it. It's actually the longest piece in the double. The Philip K. Dick one is significantly shorter, but it's on the shelf. I now have both Howard L. Corey novels. How exciting is that? Okay. Anyway, now as is common practice with me, if I order a book from, or if I find a book on eBay, I will always look to see if that seller has anything else of interest, because the idea of just ordering a single paperback book from a seller on eBay and dealing with shipping for one book is, I don't know, makes me cringe. So I always try to at least throw a few more into the mix. And as I have mentioned recently, the book I'm reading right now, and I'm more than halfway through, is The Caves of Steel, which is Isaac Asimov. It's his first, I think it's the first robot novel, officially the first robot novel. Again, shambolic. More coffee. I am enjoying that book immensely. And it's funny because my experience with Asimov is actually surprisingly light. When I was growing up, my father loved science fiction, but for whatever the reason, he wasn't a big Asimov fan. He had a few books on the shelf. I remember him having the book club edition of the Foundation trilogy and one or two others. I think he might have had some iRobot collection. And he also subscribed to the Isaac Asimov magazine. So Asimov was ever present when I was a kid, but I didn't really read his stuff because my father really wasn't into him. He was more into Clarke. I think he was a huge Clarke and Heinlein fan, and trying to envision those bookshelves from my childhood, but just sort of drawing a blank. But anyway, never a big Asimov fan, so I didn't really read Asimov growing up. And so this has been fun to dip into these books. And I was mainly inspired because I have been watching the Foundation series on Apple, and I've finished season 3. And I know it wildly diverges from the Foundation novels and stories, but it certainly was enough to inspire me to go back and read the foundational documents that have created the Foundation. And Asimov himself put together a list in order of how to read all the books, and it combines his robots books and his Foundation books and his Galactic Empire books all into sort of one timeline. So that's what I'm doing, and that's where The Caves of Steel comes in. I believe that's his first book on the list. And like I say, I'm enjoying it. Great stuff. Looking forward to reading more. So I looked at that particular seller's inventory, and I picked up a few Asimov books. And these are early ones, so these will be sort of the ones I'm going to roll into after Caves of Steel. I don't remember if this is the exact order, but... So I did get The Naked Sun. This is also a Fawcett release, Fawcett Crest. And I don't know the artist on that cover, but pretty interesting. The first book, Caves of Steel, is a murder mystery, and this one seems to be another murder mystery, and it features the same character, Earth's most famous detective Elijah Bailey, who's also in Caves of Steel. So this should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to reading that one. Bit of a spine lean, not awful, but it's in good shape. So I'm happy to have that. So I grabbed that. I also got The Stars Like Dust, another one of the earlier ones. This was, and again, these were, I think most of these were published originally in the 50s. I'm just going to flip in there and double check. Yeah, 51. And then this is a 1972 reprint by Fawcett again. This one's in really surprisingly nice condition. I mean, it looks unread. So happy to have that one. I threw that into the pile. Another book, The Currents of Space, and I think that's a Frank Kelly Freas cover. The Paralyzed Brain of, quote, Crazy Rick held the secret of a galactic plot. Well, that sounds fun. So this one, another one that comes in the series. I'm not sure if this is part of the Robots or Empire or Foundation, but I threw that in the mix. And then another one, and this was a much later release from Asimov, if you have not read these books. This is his prelude to Foundation, and this one's a bit of a chonker. So this one will come in, I'm sure I'm going to read this one sometime next year, 434 pages. This one also has his timeline. Let me see if I can look that up. I thought it was in this book. Yeah. It's under the author's note. And so he talks about how there are 14 books at the time, starting with The Complete Robot, which is the iRobot stories. And then, number 2 which is what I'm reading right now, The Caves of Steel. Then The Naked Sun, The Robots of Dawn, which I don't have. Robots in Empire I don't have. Currents of Space I now have. The Stars Like Dust I now have. Then Pebble in the Sky I don't have. Prelude to Foundation gets slotted in there. And then it goes on from there. So a few more. And then there were also one or two that he wrote after this. There was one that he wrote right prior to his death, which I think is Forward the Foundation. So I've got a lot of these books to get through. So at least 15, 16 books to read all of it. And that's a mini goal. So I'm going to set it and I'm doing it and we'll see what happens. But it could be months because I'm sure I'm going to want to break that up. All right. Now we're jumping back a little bit in reference to Howard L. Corey. And I had mentioned again in that Sword of Langkor review video that one half of that team also wrote under the name Larry Maddock. And he wrote the Agent of Terra books. And there were, as far as I know, 4 of those. I may be wrong in that regard. All published by Ace. The first 3 have a pretty familiar or a pretty uniform look on their cover. They have like a logo and I think it says TERRA and there's dots between it. So it's like Uncle and a little face or something like that. So I'm looking for those now. I want to casually track those down. I'm not going to order those, but if I see them in the wild, I'll pick them up. And that is exactly what happened when I was at the Iliad Bookshop a couple weeks ago. And I found book number 4, The Time Trap Gambit. Again, Larry Maddock. This one says, an Agent of Terra novel. Hannibal Fortune and his alien, is that alien partner? Yeah, alien partner Webley fight a subtle empire scheme to destroy mankind's history. I love me some time travel. So that's fun. I'm glad I have this. It's in, as you can see, as the light plays across its shiny exterior, it's in pretty damn good shape. So I grabbed that. I think this one was only about $2. So I have that. And while I was there, the only other book I found at Iliad that particular day, and I haven't been back since, only because I just have been busy. This was I saw the spine on the shelf and I remembered the cover, but I had never read it before. And certainly it's an author I know and like, and that's Poul Anderson. This is Fire Time. This particular copy is in brand new condition. I don't think it's ever been read. But what a great cover. I don't know if that's going to come into focus at all. Symbolic. No, it's not. That's Daryl K. Sweet. Wonderful art. And I love this bright orange. Not so much a cover by because it's Poul Anderson. But yeah, if anybody's read this one, I would love to hear if it is worth the energy. Everything else I've read from Anderson, I've enjoyed. So we'll see how that goes. And again, just a couple bucks. All right. And the last small pile is a fun one. And you will see where that second thumbnail comes into play. It's inspired by a book in this pile. So I was looking for a particular Western to add to my collection. And I was poking around online and I happened to see a seller who was not necessarily a bookseller. It was a sort of an antique thing. And I'm going to hold hold their identity close to my chest like a good poker hand, because I may be getting some more stuff from them. And I don't want you to get it yet. But down the line, I'll happily share it because very, very nice owner. But anyway, they had a few books listed on their website, including this particular book. And so I put it on my shopping cart and with their storefront. And then I thought, well, let me poke around and see if there's anything else available that I can toss into the mix. This was not an eBay seller. Well, the books that I was finding that looked interesting were all priced at like 50 cents or $1, with one exception. And I'll show you what that was in a moment. But I'll go through the stuff I added to it and got for 50 cents. I think most of these were 50 cents each. And I think there was one $1 one, and then there was a $5 one, which I'm happy I got. And I'll leave that for the last book. But I got a few Westerns from this particular seller. I got a Luke Short Paper Sheriff, a Bantam Western. I have one or two other Luke Shorts on the shelf, but I don't think I've ever read any Luke Short. So it was 50 cents and I grabbed it. It's in fine shape. Nice to have another Western in the pile. along with a bunch of other new Westerns. This one is William Chamberlain, an author I don't know, Forced March to Loon Creek. And it says on the back, Wyoming Territory, 1872. But I love the design, the cover design of it. For some reason, it really, really leapt out at me, and I immediately grabbed it. And again, I mean, it's funny. The cover price on this is 45 cents from whatever year this came out. What are we thinking? 64? 64. And it was 50 cents. So, I mean, how could I say no? This one popped up. I knew nothing about it. It's Lady with a Gun by J.A. Shears, a novel of the Old West. It's published by Bantam. Interestingly, I know very little about this author or this book, but when I poked around, I later found one or two that were either for sale or had already sold on eBay for quite a lot of money. So there is some interest in this particular book. Again, 50 cents. And really looking forward to reading it. It says the author of Fire in the Sky, not the science fiction Fire in the Sky. It's another Western. And so if I enjoy this, I at least can track that one down. But a bit of a mystery. At some point, I'm going to dig deep and find out who J.A. Shears was, whatever. But yeah, another great one added to the Western stack. 50 cents. Louis L'Amour. I haven't read too much Louis L'Amour. I don't own too much Louis L'Amour, despite the fact that there's hundreds of them. But I got a pretty decent condition copy of Taggart. Again, 50 cents. The last Western I got, and this one you'll probably laugh at me for doing this. If you remember, I posted a video where I talked a lot about the book Mystery Ranch by Max Brand. And I was very honest about that, and I highlighted the good and the bad. Well, I saw this cover, and I couldn't pass it up for 50 cents. And it's another copy of Mystery Ranch, so now I have two. But this one is a much later Warner publication. I just thought it was a really neat cover. I like the logo. I don't know, it's almost inspired me to track down the other Warner Max Brand releases and maybe try to get my hands on those. They might all look nice on the shelf next to each other. But again, it was 50 cents. Like I say, it wasn't his best novel that I've read, but how could I pass it up? And then last, we've had multiple references to Poul Anderson. This is book 2 of the Baen reprints of the Technic Civilization saga. David Falcane's Star Trader. You can see the band logo on the cover there. Another huge chunk. I think this is almost like 700 or 800 pages, thin pages. And it's volume 2. I don't have any of the other volumes. Is it worth reading the Technic Civilization saga stuff from Poul Anderson? Again, let me know. But it's unread. It looks like a brand new book. And yes, this one was 50 cents as well. So how could I pass that up? And then lastly, and I already spoiled it by saying how much it was, I saw this and the artwork alone inspired me to make the purchase. I couldn't say no. I don't own any pirate themed fiction. As far as I know, there might be something up there or some space pirate fiction or something. But this one, when I saw this cover, I had to have this book, and it was described as being in very good condition. It is. It's in terrific shape. It's an old Dell. It's Rogue's Holiday by Hamilton Cochrane. Now, I know nothing about this book, but if you can see that cover, it is absolutely superb. And when it showed up, I instantly bagged it. I just loved it. When pirates lusted for women in gold. This may be the first of many pirate books I will be reading. I love pirate stuff. Absolutely. I've got a few pirate role-playing games up on my shelves. Blackbeard's 13th wife. Her name was Raquel. The fire of her Latin beauty burned in her eyes. She was taunting, irresistible. So, it's probably got a little bit of romantic stuff, but if it's full-on pirate adventure, count me in. So this is something I definitely want to read. And I was really happy to get it. And yes, I did spend $5 to get my hands on this. But the funny part is, like I said, all those other books I just showed you were, as I spill a bunch of them on the floor, shambolic. they were 50-cent books. So I think my grand total was like $10 or $11 for a huge stack of books, including that awesome pirate book. So I am not apologizing for that purchase whatsoever. Very happy to have those in my collection. So that is it. I have no other books on order. I have no other plans of visiting any of the local bookshops. I have a few books on my wish list for the holidays, so if anything shows up, I will, of course, post a video talking about anything I have acquired over the holidays. But in all likelihood, that may be all I'm getting for the rest of 2025. So it's a bit of a long-winded journey to get here, but that's that. I still am planning on getting a Christmas in the West short story reading done for you all. It will drop before the new year at the very least. Hopefully I get it done and can post it before the holiday itself. So we shall see. So keep an eye out for that. And I have some other things planned. I've done some title sequences for some other stuff, discussing one of my books and a few other exciting bits and pieces. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching this video, for supporting me, for subscribing, for sharing this nonsense. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. It's a rough time, as I said at the beginning of the video, for all of us. And just knowing that we are in some way connected really does make it feel worthwhile, the effort to produce this kind of stuff. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you very, very soon. Until then, take care.